I think we are live. Hello, my darlings, and welcome to the Lunchtime panel on the first day of the AuthorTube AuthorTube virtual retreat. I almost screwed that up, but that's what happens. So, I have with me a panel of lovely panelists. Have I said panel enough? We are talking about series today. So I'm going to let the panelists introduce themselves in just a second. Folks, slow chat is on at the moment just to prevent spamming, because I want everyone to have the best possible experience. If you have a question for the panel, you can leave it in the chat. Just be sure to start it with Q:, so that I can see it and that I know it is a question for the panel. You can address questions to specific panelists if that is something you want to do. Okay, and Sako, take it away.
Howdy howlers, I'm Sako Toomey, also known as Casvoit. As it stands, I'm currently unpublished, but I'm releasing my debut standalone thriller a week from today. I'm currently writing an Anchor series.
My name is Zara Hoffman. I'm a self-published author of a paranormal romance trilogy. I have plans for standalone books, but also a lot of plans for other trilogies, but two of which I'm currently writing. So yeah, lots of trilogies and a few longer series planned.
Cool.
Excellent. Keelan.
All right, what's up, everyone? I'm Keelan. I am the self-published author of All the King's Traitors with the second book. I don't have a proof yet, which is like the most annoying thing for anybody who knows my proof journey. The second book, All the Queen's Renegades, is coming out in November, which is beyond exciting. It is part of a planned trilogy. There is also going to be a companion novel, and like Sarah, I have a few other trilogies planned, some of which are in the same universe.
That's so exciting. Sarah?
It is so exciting. I'm so excited for your new book to come out too. I'm Sarah Labrat. I'm currently writing a high fantasy series that is currently unpublished, but I'm trying to start the querying process for the first book before the end of the year.
Excellent. And Doll.
Hello there, humans. I am Dal Cecil Bruno, the partially blind alien who is an own voices author, aka the ace from space. As you can tell by my brand, my primary genre is science fiction. I am currently self-published with short stories in other genres. Well, I have one that's published in an anthology and one that's coming up this Halloween. The sci-fi that I'm working on is a trilogy. It's not published because I'm querying. And the thriller short story that I am about to publish is like the beginning of a series of stories, but not necessarily linked together like, let's say, like the Miss Marple series of Agatha Christie. No, just like individuals. We will talk about that on this panel. So it's like an individual case of several stories with the same character. But like one is a thriller, one is like a political drama, one is a horror, one is weird. And I am planning to connect all my works as a part of like my own universe, but that's gonna take a while, but sort of. I'm going there.
Awesome. So thank you all for joining me. I am not going to go through everyone who is here in the chat purely because we only have an hour for this panel. So everyone in the chat, hello. We love you. You are real and valid and loved. And thank you so much for coming. Please, yes, hearts for everyone. If you have any questions for the panel as a whole or for a specific panelist, please pop it into the chat, starting with Q:. And we are going to start with the first question, which is your series made up of consecutive stories with an overarching plot or a collection of standalone stories? So, does anyone have an answer?
Absolutely. A bit of both, really. Each book should stand on its own, but consecutively they are the life and times of Don and Primus, Lorenzo, Matteo, Giovanni, Bonnie, Giovanni. So the books reference each other, but ideally you should be able to, like, you know, jump into the series at book 3 or 4 and still be able to enjoy it.
Okay.
My trilogy is kind of like a mix between, they're mostly standalone, but there are certain aspects that continue through all of them. It's the same world, but even more than that, like this is the first book, and then the sequel is like 2 side characters, but it starts before the first book and ends after the first book. And then the third book is after the first 2 books, but it has recurring characters. And it references what happened in like the first/second book.
That's awesome. Does anyone else want to answer that question?
I kind of did with my intro.
Yes, you did.
My sci-fi is I don't feel that readers can grab the second or third book and be like, oh yeah, cool. So it's very consecutive because it's the growth of these characters. It's a dual POV narrative, and you see both characters grow, and that's why I'm having such a hard time to market this. This is why it cannot be middle grade. This is why it cannot be YA, because you see the characters grow for a long period of their lives. And that apparently you cannot do that in YA. So it's like, no. Basically, I screwed it. So it's a very interesting consecutive. I genuinely don't feel that you can grab the second or the third and just they stand on their own because there's an arch for each book. Sure. But you need to know a few things that happen in book 1. Otherwise, you're going to get confused in book 2. Like, what? Where did that come from? Oh, that comes from book 1.
Right.
Now, the short stories with this character that I was talking about, the one that, like, I have one that's a thriller, one that's a horror, one that's political intrigue drama. I don't even know what that is yet. But that character is also connected to the sci-fi indirectly because of setting. So Iceland is very small, so everybody knows everybody. So it's also connected. But those short stories can stand on their own. So I'm gonna be one of those authors that is like diversity in every aspect of the word diversity, because like I'm gonna try everything.
That's great.
For me, if you picked up I can't speak. If you picked up book 2 of the High Wing series, you would probably not have an idea of what is going on. I think you could, if you powered through the not knowing what's going on, you could just based on the world building, figure the world out. It's not a super complex world, but you would not know what was going on. There are definitely separate story arcs for, like, there's definitely plot arcs for each of the 3 novels, and there is like beginning, middle, end, but these 3 books could honestly almost be put together into one 1,000-word novel. The breaks naturally happen. It's almost like act 1, 2, 3 when it comes to this series that I'm writing. So it is very much a series. That needs to be read consecutively. However, I'm currently in the midst of drafting a companion novel that it's actually just set in the world, but you can read it completely as a standalone. So book 1 and the companion novel you can read them totally separately and know what's going on.
Okay, fantastic.
My series is also very consecutive. I started with trying to write the entire story because I thought it was going to be one like 500, 600 page book. And that kind of went off the rails. And so now it's a series. But I agree with what Keelan was saying. I also was like, I kind of started writing it. And then I thought I was going to write the entire thing, discovered that I was writing like a natural break for the first book. And then closed it off, and then just am currently focusing on rewriting that first book.
That makes total sense. Folks, I want to apologize if you can hear my dog snoring in the background. He never lies in here, and now because I'm hosting a panel, he's right next to me. So sorry if you hear any funny noises.
We love doggo noises.
This is true. So okay, so Kelly has a question for you, Sarah and Dahl. Not that it's writing related. Kelly is just a nerd. What are your Western and Eastern zodiac signs?
Right.
If you're comfortable answering.
Right. I mean, the thing with this Western zodiac sign, Kelly, is that I am also a nerd, and I cannot just give you, oh, I'm a Virgo, and just close it at that. No, because there is a whole world of astrology, and I am very involved in it. But I'm not going to go in there because that's not our panel, and I could go for hours. So no. I am a Virgo, and I am a metal ram in the Chinese zodiac sign. I'm a metal ram or sheep or goat or whatever you want to call it, because that's the one zodiac sign that people have like 3 names for, just like me.
Okay, I'm honestly not super sure about what the difference between the Eastern and the Western one is. I know that I am an Aries, an Aquarius rising, and I did know what my like moon was, but now of course I forget. So
okay, you're an Aries, but what year were you born?
I was born in 1997.
Okay, you're an ox.
Like I am.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm also an ox.
Yeah, that's the Chinese. That's the Eastern zodiac sign.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. So we'll
technically we're a fire ox, Sarah. Sorry.
Okay, interesting.
Because every few years it's like a different type of the animal. So there was like the golden pig last year.
Oh yeah, you're a
like
fire.
Fire
ox. Yeah, you're a fire ox. That's true, because 1997, that's a fire year. So yeah.
Interesting.
Astrology.
Very interesting. Dee would like to know, is it harder to write the first book or to write the follow-up, and why?
Follow-up.
That's a really interesting question.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
I would say the follow-up, because you have to make this is another question, so I'll try not to go into it too much, but like I don't write all my books at once. So I need to make sure that I don't contradict anything in like a subsequent book compared to the first book, because I know some people like write the whole series and then go back and edit, and I don't do that. I like will have the earlier books open for reference as I'm writing the later books, but human error is a thing, so I'm always like double, triple checking.
Zara, you and I have the same approach. When I write my sequels, the first book is already done. I do know, even though I consider myself a pantser, I do know generally in my head where the series is going to go and end. Honestly, book 2 was super hard because I had a super clear and still have a super clear unchanged version of how the series ends. But book 1 was kind of like the beginning. Book 2 was kind of like the end. And just like in any story arc, Act 2 tends to be the hardest. So I would actually go so far as to say, if your second book is a sequel, it is the hardest book you will ever write.
Yes.
If it's like a consecutive sequel, it's going to be the hardest thing you ever write. It's going to be harder than book 1. Sorry to be a downer on that one. Some people might disagree, but I definitely think it is. Might take less time, but it's rough.
Does anyone else want to answer that question?
At midnight, but actually 1 o'clock.
Welcome back, Sako.
Sorry about that.
That's totally fine. So the question that we've just had is it harder to write the first book or to write the follow-up, and why?
Totally harder to write the follow-ups, which is why I write them first. And then I go back and I write the first book.
Dude, I've never tried that before.
That's
I work backwards. Yeah.
I say the follow-up. I say the follow-up because I realized that I'm working on the second book, and everybody tells you in traditional publishing that you should never write a sequel. And I say, screw that, because I'm blind and I need time. So I started writing the second one, and the problem is that I am noticing that I am following into my own made-up formula, and I'm like, hey, I need to get up. No, don't make it predictable. No. So it's like, oh shit.
Mm-hmm. I understand exactly what you're talking about.
So I need to move a few things around here and there. The thing is, I have planned it so carefully that it's like, now I don't know what to move and where. But I will figure that out. There are some changes, but it's a dual POV, so it goes like this character, then it switches to that character, then this and that, and this and that. So my books are very like back and forth. The problem is that there are some plot points that are coming up in repetition, like at the same sequence of book one. So like at the beginning, I had this issue going on, and in book two also at the beginning, there's like a similar thing going on with that particular subplot. And I was like, oh shit, I'm repeating formulas. So that's the hardest book to write always, because it's like, it's very much a follow-up of the first one. It's really hard to, we will talk about that in the next question. So yeah.
Has everyone spoken their piece on that one?
I'm not far enough into writing the second book in either of my current series to be able to talk on this topic yet. I'm kind of scared now that everyone else told me that the second or the follow-up books are harder. I think that's really funny. I think that
don't be scared.
I mean, I'm going to do it anyways, but I feel like it will be a little bit more difficult just because I'm always so confident in the beginning and the ends of writing books that book two of probably a trilogy is more likely to be difficult because that's the middle. So
yeah,
right.
Oh yeah,
that's my 2 cents.
And
sorry, go ahead, Becca.
I think that's how I write my books as well, in that like the middle is like the meat for me, right? So like that's where I like take off and explore and do all the cool stuff. And so I think that's why I started in the middle of the story, of the overall like plot, because I just found it.
I love the middle of a story because of like what happens, but the writing it is always like, yeah, I've been fatigued from writing the beginning, and I'm like, I can't wait to write the end because like the sense of accomplishment that comes after writing the end, where you're like, I finished the draft. It's more that. It's not like the events for me. Sorry, Keelan, you were going to say something.
I was just going to say, I haven't really thought of like this, but just while everybody was answering, I think for me at least, the second book is harder, and I didn't realize this until we were all just talking actually, but it's because to me it's harder because the second book is more technical. If you write sequentially and if you write consecutively, you have to be technically on point and consistent with everything you said in the first book. So like technical in terms of the world, whereas in the first book, that's the opportunity to be more creative, I suppose, but then you set all the rules and then it becomes working within those rules. So not just technical based on text, but technical based on the rules you set. And so I think that's what makes it's almost like it's almost like if you had to do something in a Word document versus an Excel. Like the second book is the Excel because it's very structured, and the first book is the Word document because you can go all over the place, but then you have to take all that info and kind of put it in the Excel, if that makes sense to anybody.
Right. Makes sense.
And I think that's another reason why I start in the middle, is like, because I can play, do all the things and set all the rules.
In the middle,
I can be in the story. Middle.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, this is how things have always been, cough, cough. And then I can go back and be like, this is how that thing started.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. That's super interesting because you then get to play with all those elements in kind of a bigger plot, because books almost get like bigger and bigger and bigger in a consecutive series. Like the big bad gets bigger and badder and all of those things, you know? So you get to play with it in kind of a larger space, whereas in that book one, it might be a little bit more of a smaller space. Anyway, this is a revelation I've had right now. So
I think what Sako does is kind of like the Star Wars model.
Yeah. And I think that might have been my inspiration.
Hopefully,
but I guess Sako's doing it better than Star Wars.
I was going to say, hopefully with a little less difficulty and craziness than Lucas. Okay, so on to our next question. Nina Natasha asks, did any of you want to write a series and then come up with the plot, or was the plot there first and then you put them into separate books? Totally. So I think Sarah has already kind of answered that.
In my case, because I have talked about that on my YouTube channel a few times, and in a recent video even, I saw the whole story, like the whole trilogy just happened in my brain through through one of Björk's music albums. So like, as long as that album lasted, I saw the whole thing. So I thought it was going to be a standalone. I never planned, I'm going to make a series. No, that was not it. The vision, so to speak, came to me, and I was like, holy hell, now what am I supposed to do now? And I thought it was going to be one book, and so I started the whole AuthorTube, like how to write a novel thing, because like I wasn't a writer before this. And the thing is, I learned that what I had in my mind was too much content for just one book, because these characters are going to grow, and it's not like they're going to grow 2 years, they're going to grow 15-ish years. So it's a whole progress, you know. It's a long way. Well, 15-ish, 17, I don't know, a lot of years. So you cannot put all that into one book. It's like too much, you know. So I decided, dude, this is gonna be a trilogy, and even in each book they're gonna grow several years. So okay, welcome to sci-fi where you can do that. So yeah, that's what happened to me. The thing just came, and then I realized I needed to plan out for a series.
I had a similar experience where I came up with I had the idea for the plot, and then like I said earlier, I was just gonna like start writing it and try and write the entire thing. And then I got to like 250,000 words, and I was like, this probably, like I wasn't even to like the halfway point yet. And so I was like, this probably shouldn't be one book. And that's when I decided to like split it up, so it became a series.
I always know that it's going to be a series before I start. I have some series that are like premise based, and they're more like a collection of standalones. Like I have a fairy tale retelling series that will all be set in the same universe, but I was like, I want to do fairy tales, and these are the different ones. But I also am working on my sci-fi trilogy, which I talked about in my blogs for July's Camp Nano, and that's like consecutive trilogy, and it's all one story arc in addition to like specific book arcs too. And that I just knew, I was like, I need 3 books to tell this story. And then there's another trilogy that I started writing in July, but like kind of put aside to focus on the sci-fi one, which is like about falling in love through a dating app. And that was like premise first, and then like in the next breath, like 3 story ideas. And I was like, okay, well, they're all related, so it's a trilogy. I don't really go through like, here's one book, is it too big to tell with one story? It's like, I just know it's one book or it's a series.
Yeah, me too. Yeah.
Okay, folks, we're going to put a pause in things there for a sec, because it is secret word time. Keelan, if you want to tell folks about the secret word.
Oh, shoot, putting me on the spot here. Okay, so for everybody who may have just got here and doesn't know, this panel is part of the AuthorTube virtual retreat that is happening today. All of the links for that are down below in the description box. These secret words are something that you can collect in every single panel, session, writing sprint. So collect them all. There's going to be a secret word that the presenter will say at some point in their presentation. And then you just write it down, jot it down. And then at the end of the retreat or whenever you have to leave, you can go and fill in the feedback form. And in the feedback form, there will be a spot you can put all of the secret words you've collected. And then the number of secret words you put in, let's say you put in 10, you get 10 entries into a draw for a $15 Amazon gift card. So we're giving away 4 gift cards, and we had a ton of entries last time. But yay, everybody's got their printouts. That's so fun. You can also go to the AuthorTube Virtual Retreat website, link down below again. And on the prizes page, there is a printout that you can use to fill in all of your secret words.
Yeah.
I have a question now, because like printouts, but like, can I do this digitally? Because like, Keelan, I cannot read print.
Yeah, you should be able to. It's a PDF.
Cool.
Yeah. So, folks, the secret word for this panel is paradoxical. Paradoxical. I hope that everyone has written it down, saved it,
Yes.
filed it away. Are we all good?
Don't worry, on the feedback forms, we don't spell check.
I was going to ask about that.
Yeah, you can misspell the words. As long as I can kind of see what you're going for, I'm like, yep, this is good.
You just
Also,
wait
the form is open until the end of the month. So if you
Yes.
if you weren't able to watch a certain sprint because you went to a workshop at the same time, you can go back, watch it, get the secret word for that, and then submit your form at the end of the month.
Correct.
Definitely.
Get that out there.
Just wait for my words tomorrow. Dude, my secret words tomorrow are like, Dal, why?
Okay, folks, secret word is going away, and we are getting back to the question.
Okay.
Sorry. There we go.
I had one document that had all of my notes, and then that hit just my notes hit 100,000 words. So I was like, and I had like 6 overreaching arcs, like different chronicles, basically. And I was like, this needs to be split up. If my tiny little prompts have added up to 100,000 words, I think it's gonna, yeah.
It's gonna need to be a series. So
she's definitely writing an Icelandic poetic Edda or something, because like 100,000 word of notes. It's like, Sako, what are you even? She's creating a whole universe of her own.
Yeah,
definitely. So I am technically not supposed to be answering the questions because I am the moderator, but I can't help myself on this one. So I am also a series writer. I am writing a series of sweet romances. They are standalone books set in the same small town. And so they are semi-sequential in that events in the first book are referenced in later books, but not to an extent where it affects the reading experience. So if you happen to hop in book 4, you'll be fine. And in my case, I decided first that I wanted to write a series, and then I sat down and tried to brainstorm. I initially said 5 plots, and I have a document that my editor at my publishing house has access to. I don't start writing until she approves it. And I have, I believe, 9 stories plotted out in that document.
Nice.
So whether I will get to write all 9 or whether we'll stop after 5 remains to be seen. But for me, the idea of having a series came before the plot for the series. So, sorry, I will go back to moderator duties now.
No problem.
You can be a moderator and a panelist.
Exactly. I assume you can answer the questions too.
So Shankirti asks, would you draft the whole series before diving into editing or do it one by one?
If I wasn't doing a fast release anchor series, I would do it one by one. But because I'm doing a fast release, I'm basically like drafting one while editing another. Like I'm just like...
I would add to that saying, if I, like Sacco, I wish I had done that. So if I had a better understanding, I suppose, of the self-publishing industry, because I am a self-published author, I probably would have written the entire series and have written and edited the entire series and have had maybe 4, 5, even 6 books ready to go, and then quick release them, and then do that for another series. Like some people consistently push out books. I wouldn't be able to do that. I'd have to do like one series, push it all out in a few months, take a break, then do another series. That's probably what I would personally do. But that is not the case, but I'm getting quicker. So this book is coming out, All the Queen's Renegades is coming out in November. The 3rd book is coming out in March of 2021, and there's going to be a book in between then. So I'm getting quicker, but it like I had to take that year between book 1 and book 2 to be able to do what I'm about to do. And I would have rather done that at the beginning. I would have rather drafted all of them and then published all of them.
This is why, this is another of the secret million reasons why I am pursuing traditional publishing, is because I genuinely don't have the capacity to rapid release. I'm too blind for that, and I want to put out quality. If you know very well what I mean, I don't want any typos. I don't want to have any errors. I mean, as little as possible. You know, people don't know that I'm a blind author unless they look up my YouTube channel and my online presence. If they get that book on Amazon, they are going to judge me equally as everybody else, and I want to be on par. So rapid release is not an option for me, because genuinely it isn't. So this is another reason why I went traditional, or trying to go traditional, because rapid release is just not happening here.
I mean, I will say that traditional, though, like if you get signed for a series, they want a book every year, even if each of those books takes 2 years to go out.
I can do a book a year. I can do it because I am learning the process of like doing things faster. My punctuation is getting better. So like thanks to the community, I am learning things that are gonna increase my speed. But anyway, I cannot possibly do it at the same pace that a sighted person would do it. So yeah, self-publishing is what I should stay away from when it comes to like novels. Short stories, I guess, is okay, but traditional publishing is my path, precisely because of the rapid release thing.
Well, not all self-publishing is rapid release.
Also, there are some people who write all their books and like are pretty cagey about it or don't really talk about it that much, and then they'll have written all the books and then say it's coming out, and then they just rapid release, and you don't know that, like, oh, they pre-wrote all of them because they haven't like publicized, like, I'm writing this series. It's taking me like however long it is. It's just as the reader, you're like, oh, book 1 is out however long in your rapid release, whether that's like a month, a few weeks, or whatever. It's like, oh, book 2 is out, book 3, whatever. And so I understand why you want to do traditional, and I think that's great. But I don't think you need to write off self-publishing because of that. Because rapid release is all about when you're publishing. And what Keelan and I did is we wrote and then published, and we were both wishing we kind of had written it all and then published. But there are people, like I know Jesse Elliott and KJ Sutton, when they did their co-writing series, they were writing, releasing. Although next time around, they're like, we want to write it all and release it all after.
Okay. Interesting.
Did you guys, question for Zara and Keelan, do you guys think that you wish that you would have written the entire thing because you self-published, or even if you had chosen to go down the traditional path, do you think you would have wanted to write and release, or do you think you would have wanted to write them all and then edit them all?
I think I would have wanted to. This is honestly a self-publishing strategy that I probably wouldn't have done otherwise, because I feel like it came naturally to me to write, edit, finish book 1, write, edit, finish book 2. I actually think, you know what, like, I think I still might follow that approach, like, not with this series. This series is done. The next series that I have planned, but the next series I have planned, I think I'm going to write, edit, finish book 1, like completely put it on a shelf, right? Edit, finish book 2, completely put it on a shelf, because I just don't know if I have the capacity to do like write one, edit the other. I've tried to do stuff like that before, and I used to be convinced that I could do it, and I'm just I don't know if I'm at that point. So I think, to Shankardi's question, would I draft the whole series before diving into editing? I don't think so. I think my answer is still no, but I might draft 1, edit 1, draft 2, edit 2, draft 3, edit 3, probably developmental edit, and then maybe do a full pass for copy in line. But yeah, I think that's a great question, Sarah. I think this decision is entirely driven by the fact that this is the strategy I want to pursue with self-publishing.
I'm the same as Keelan. I think there's in traditional publishing, there's like no guarantee that your second book will happen. So some people don't want to, quote unquote, like waste the time writing like the later books if it's not gonna see the light of day.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like if you're writing the story and you think that something in a later book would affect the first book, and you're not like Sako, who's starting in the middle so that she knows the beginning and stuff, it might be worth it writing all of them. And then when you're querying, you can say the series has been written. And like, you know, the only thing is that like, what if you get an agent and then an editor, changes might be made to the first book. So it's not like you get an agent and they're going to be published the way you are. There will still be editing in book 1, and then probably rollover edits in book 2 and book 3, or et cetera.
It's really interesting to hear how the publishing paths that people choose affect their process. Like, you think that somebody's process would just be solely based on kind of their artistic vision and what suits them best, but it's really interesting hearing how everybody has kind of their route that they want to go down, and how that is influencing their writing process, and how their writing process influences what route they want to go down. Anyway, just thought I'd say that.
So I am under contract to an independent publisher for the Sweet Romance series. They want to do a rapid release strategy. So our agreement is I'm going to write the books, and they will not start releasing until book 3 is completely edited, by which time I should be at least finished drafting book 4. So that by the time they finish editing book 4, I'll be finished drafting book 5. So that we can release them a month apart, or whatever the timeline is. But I have the benefit there of I don't have to do the editing myself, because I'm under contract to a publisher. So I have an editor within the publishing house who takes care of that. I am literally only responsible for drafting and then rewriting based on editor feedback. So that is helpful. And also I'm very much a turtle writer, so there's no way that I could do a slow release strategy by myself. But knowing that I can hand this draft off to my editor at the publishing house, and she takes care of the rest while I get on with the next story, makes it a lot easier.
Sorry, guys, I'm just going to jump in here. Am I frozen?
No, you're good.
Okay, well, y'all are frozen for me.
Oh, goodness.
But
the gremlins have Keelan.
Yeah, they do. Sage, I did just want to add, that seems to be a strategy that a lot of smaller indie presses or small traditional publishing houses are have been taking on lately. I've seen that at a few different places, and I work with a few different authors who are traditionally published by small presses, and that's the strategy, like smaller independent traditional publishing presses, and that's the strategy that seems to be working really well because they have to compete with the self-published books, basically.
Right.
And traditional publishing. It's like they're in kind of both markets.
Yeah, 100%. Keela, you are now frozen, but we can still hear you.
Okay, I am going to restart and jump back in, so I'll be back in a moment.
Okay, great.
All right.
The way that you were just mentioning how you were doing your fast releases through your publishing house, I'm kind of doing something similar, where books 1, 2, and 3 should be on their way out or in other people's hands by the time I'm working on book 1. Like in beta or in first pass editing, second pass editing, whatever. Like,
so I
getting a lead and then just rolling through it.
Yeah, I am currently in the final draft of book 1. I have not started book 2 purely because we planned this whole thing last year, before the craziness of 2020 hit. So there has just been a lot going on with coronavirus, and then me losing my job and having to take on freelancing, which doesn't have the same hours, so you don't have a schedule, so writing becomes more difficult, and it had like a major snowball effect. But the plan going forward is that as soon as I have delivered the final draft of book 1 to the editor, I start on the first draft of book 2, while she is doing all of the behind the scenes things, the cover design and the formatting and all of that. I don't have to worry about any of that, which makes me very happy. I love doing it for other people. I hate doing it for myself. So, yeah. Okay, Kelly, sorry, I didn't check. Was everyone cool on that question? Okay. Kelly asks, have you written a self-insert character? And if you did you ever remove the character during the writing process, or did they stay till the very end?
I have no shame.
A really good question.
I have no shame. I have done it. I say it openly because, first of all, I am a walking diversity package myself, and I never see that well done in books. So it's like, screw it, I'm gonna write it myself. If it's a self-insert, screw it. If people want to shame me for that, it's like, dude, it's not that I am special, but I am very different. So why not? Why the hell not? Also, I didn't. Of course, the character doesn't have my name. The character is not of the very same nationality that I am. It has a similar makeup, like ethnic makeup, similar-ish. And that's even questionable because, spoilers, I'm not saying shit. But, supposedly it has a similar ethnic makeup that I have. And so it has qualities of me. Yes. It has a lot of my personal experience. Yes, because it's an own voices book. But I am not writing a self-insert that it's cough cough Bella Swan. I'm not doing that, for example. It's I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. But it's I have reasons to do it because I don't see it. So that's why I did it. Now, I'm gonna talk about that tomorrow. But if you have a very special story to share, and you have to write a sort of insert character there because it's your story basically, and it's a sort of I want to write something from a life experience, but I don't want it to be a memoir because no. And you disguise it as a sci-fi or fantasy or horror or whatever genre or what have you. I say go for it, but like make sure that the people beyond your circles don't really necessarily know that. I mean, if they look up my YouTube channel, they will see it's a self-insert, but like if they see it on Amazon, who cares, you know?
I don't think I've written a self-insert in that no single character has multiple aspects of myself, but I definitely put parts of myself in different characters. Like in the trilogies that I self-published, I definitely have a character who's more outgoing, and she's like who I used to be before I had started having some mental health stuff come in, and who I like to think I'm getting closer and closer to now that like I'm getting better. And then a character for my like contemporary dating app story is more similar to how I was when I had the mental health stuff going on, but like then the like love interests also have different aspects of me. So there's not one character I can point to who's like, that's me with certain things change. It's more like, oh, this part of my personality is in this character. Maybe this character is a little bit more aspirational for me or whatever, but there's not like me in my book.
I like that approach too, and I have done that with other characters. I'm just like being super open that there is a character that's basically dull in the future. It's okay though. I mean, there's a reason why I have a pen name. No one has to know my real name and my real life and my real stuff. So even Dal as a persona is like, do you really know Dal? Do you really? So yeah.
I agree with Zara that like a lot of my characters have some aspect of me in them. And I think that's the whole concept of like, write what you know, which sometimes I agree with, sometimes I don't. But so a lot of my characters have something. There is one character that I wrote, the book that I wrote when I was in high school, the first scene that I wrote of her was a self-insert. And then I realized that she was completely not like me, but she's like the person that I would like to be. And so that's kind of how that changed and escalated as I continued writing and editing it. So now, even though she's like a fictional character and she came out of my brain, I really look up to her. And so, yeah, I'm basically just seconding what Zara said.
I am. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Sacco.
So I'm an avid role player and have been since I was like 7 years old. And so my MCs are all role-playing characters from something or another, right? And I'm like, I need a prelude for this, or I need a, you know, an actual like book series about this character, or, you know, whatever, however that works. But overall, the only time I've done a real honest to God self-insert was in fan fiction when I was in middle school. Like that's as far as I went with like actual like personal inserts.
So with regards to self-inserts, Sacco, just on a point that you said, I actually also I wrote fan fiction, and I actually have never written a self-insert in fan fiction. And then I was like, you know what? I'm going to do it. I want to do this because I'm in love with Vegeta from Dragon Ball Z. Anyway, it's a whole thing. And so I wanted to write a self-insert, but then I was like, oh my gosh, I can't do that to Bulma. How like rude of me. So I ended up not doing it because I was like, I can't break them up. Like, it's not possible.
This is so fun.
But I do... all I was going to say was I've never written a self-insert in a novel. Like everybody has said, there's always characters who you identify with and who have pieces of you. They all have a piece of you because they're all a piece of your soul. But the thing that I do always write, and Sarah, you made me think of this, and I always do it by accident. I never intend to do it, but I always write a self-insert of who I want to be, if that makes sense. Like there's always a character in my books, and I don't realize it when I'm doing it, but I realize it after when I'm reading, and I'm like, oh, this is the person who I want to be. And I don't realize it when I'm doing it. It's not a purposeful thing. It consistently happens every single time.
I am the opposite. I keep it too real. This is why I keep myself hidden a little bit, because I don't write this character that I'm talking about. I don't write her like what I want to be. It's like all the flaws, all the problems, all the no-nos, all of them are there. It's like it's a little bit. I shouldn't even do that, you know. I'm like, why are you doing that? Well, I have a pen name after all. No one knows me. No one knows. But I keep it too real. I don't have the what Keelan has, that like I want to be this or that, and I make a character out of. Not really. I have written a sort of alter ego, who is. I think I have done the opposite. I wrote a character who is like everything I don't want to become. Is that monster. I wrote that monster, and with the awareness that I could become that thing. And she, because it's a she, is I just don't want, like, she's the monster I should never become and should always beware of. Like it's so I have done the opposite, actually. Wow. Okay, that's creepy. Sorry.
No, that's really fascinating.
You could definitely have a character who's aspirational, but like give them flaws. Like I don't think writing an aspirational character means that they're perfect, because that would be just a boring character. But like I don't necessarily give them the same flaws as me, but sometimes I do, because again, like write what you know. I don't always take that as a rule either, Sarah. But like for the psychology, you know, I feel like there are some flaws that everyone can relate to varying degrees. So I feel like that will always be in whatever character I write, whether they're like closer to how I am right now, whether they're aspirational, or whether it's like a character that I don't see myself in any way other than the fact that I'm the author and therefore their words are my words as I'm writing them. Like not necessarily every character says what I'm personally thinking.
I like that. It's true. The aspirational characters, like if it's an aspirational kind of self-insert, if that makes sense, the ones that I end up writing sometimes aren't even like the good guys. It's just specific qualities in them that I really like. Like sometimes I'm like in All the King's Traders, the person who I'm thinking is the aspirational character for me is not necessarily a good person. They're not a bad person, but they're not a good person. They just have specific qualities that I have always wanted, and they still have flaws. So, but I think that's a great point.
My MC for my Anchor series is very much like that. Whether he is the villain or whether he is the hero is completely contextual. Because he's not good, but he's not bad either. Like, well, no, he's terrible. He's absolutely terrible, but he's absolutely a saint too.
Right. Okay, folks, so we are down to the last 5 minutes. I would have liked to have gotten another question in, but I think that we are a bunch of chatty Cathys. So we are not going to get another question in. What I will do, if my panelists are willing, is I will collate the remaining questions from the chat and let the panelists answer it in a Google Doc, and then I will link the Google Doc in this description down below once I've gotten everyone's answers, if everyone is happy with that.
Great idea.
For me.
Okay, excellent. So I can ditch that. And it's time to do outros. So let's go in counterclockwise order. And Dahl, give us your outro.
Okay, thank you very much for having me here. I hope that my answers were useful for everyone here, or at least someone. I am Del Cecile Renaud, the partially blind alien who is an own voices author, aka the Ace from Space. I write primarily sci-fi, but I would like to explore other genres with my short stories. I have one short story published, currently going to publish the second short story in a different genre. My sci-fi is still looking for a home in traditional publishing. And I think that's me.
Awesome. Sarah?
I want to say thank you to Sage for having all of us on her panel, and I want to say thank you to Keelan for organizing this entire thing. She is the brains behind the AuthorTube virtual retreats. I'm Sarah Lebrat. I write science fiction and fantasy. I have a YouTube channel. I believe it's linked down below. If you choose to come check me out, that'd be great. But all of these people are absolutely lovely. So on to Keelan.
Yes, Sage, thank you so much for having us. This has been an absolute pleasure. And yeah, hope everybody enjoyed. I don't have anything else. So Sarah, to you.
Thank you, Sage, for having me on. I love that we got to talk about series and how we write them all differently. I'm Zara Hoffman. I'm a self-published author of young adult paranormal romance, and I also make YouTube videos.
Cool.
Howdy, Howlers. I'm Sako Toomey, also known as Cass Voigt. I write horror, and I'm a witch, and I'm a graphic designer, and sometimes I combine these three things. I am currently unpublished, but I am debuting in a week, and for real. And hopefully my Anchor series will be done and said and everything like that by 2024. So that will be that.
Awesome. So thank you to all my panelists for agreeing to do this and for giving such thoughtful answers. And thank you to everyone who showed up today. I hope that we have answered some of your questions in a way that is satisfactory to you. I will get onto that collated question document and get it into the description as soon as possible. Thank you all for coming. In the description box down below, you will find the links to all of my guests' channels, as well as all the relevant links for the AuthorTube virtual retreats and the 4 organizations that the retreats have donated to this time. I'm going to close this out with my standard closing. I'm just going to skip my self-promo stuff because it feels a little skeezy right now. So, folks...
Promo yourself.
Yeah,
it's
promo.
Your channel.
We love promo.
Okay, folks, this is my channel. It's here. Like and subscribe. I am in the process of rebranding, so you are going to have to watch Sako's Branding for Authors workshop tomorrow morning at 8 a.m. Eastern. And then you will get all the tea. So, right, folks, Black lives still matter. Trans rights are still human rights. You are real, you are valid, and you are loved. Stay safe, stay strong, and until next time, happy writing. We'll see you again soon.